Have you seen Chuck Norris lately? He's still kicking butt and staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he looks more jacked than ever and seems to have more energy than guys half his age. And it's all thanks to Morning Kick, a revolutionary new daily drink from Roundhouse Provisions that combines ultra-potent greens like spirulina and kale with probiotics, prebiotics, collagen, and even ashwagandha. Just mix with water, stir, and enjoy. Unlike other green drinks out there, this one tastes exactly like strawberry lemonade and has hundreds of 5-star reviews. Go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 for up to 44% off your regular priced order. Plus, every purchase is backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to experience smoother digestion, a boost of energy, and just an overall healthier body, then go to roundhouseprovisions.com/save44 today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Results can vary.
That's the sound of your current hype level at the gas pump. But brace yourself for something fuel nominal, because Unleaded 88 is about to take the hype to a whole new level. Unleaded 88 is cheaper, cleaner, and greener than regular unleaded. Plus, it's homegrown, making Unleaded 88 the clear choice at the pump and totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88, brought to you by Iowa Corn.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The 3 Down Greencast is brought to you by Lucky Bastard Distillers, Saskatchewan's premier distillery, and by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, brewed in the heart of Regina. Welcome to the 3 Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only Ask John Anything podcast.
Woohoo!
I'm Joel
Let's
Gasson
go.
with John Fraser as usual, and this time I came prepared. I now know that this is our 7th edition of Ask John Anything.
Oh, wow. You actually went back and looked.
Yes, I went into the behind the scenes on where we post our, basically where the podcast is hosted.
Yes.
And I searched Ask, and there were 6 previous Ask John Anythings according to this, so that's what we are going by, is that this is the 7th. Apparently the first one we ever did, we actually talked about something else that episode as well, which is mind-blowing. But apparently we did.
Wow, that's kind of impressive considering how elaborate the Ask John Anythings have gotten.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just to peel back the curtain a little bit, when John and I first started discussing the fact that we were going to do this here podcast, we came in pretty much with a blank slate. We knew we wanted to talk about the CFL. We knew we wanted to not take ourselves seriously. And that was more or less it. We didn't have any planned bits. We didn't have any segments that we had to do every week sort of thing or anything of that nature. Yeah. No, we wanted things to sort of grow organically. And, I mean, all 6 of you, y'all know the bits by now. Subway and whatnot. There's the lore lives on. There's things that happen that I sometimes even forget about or even the lore until they happen to come up again.
Isn't that the best?
Yeah, but I think out of everything we've sort of come up with on the fly, I think I am most proud of Ask John Anything. Just because, every podcast on the earth, which there are billions of them now, all have some sort of mailbag type episode. And we've always just wanted to do it a little differently because it's easy to sit here and say, hey, you have any questions for us? Because, that's the way most of them go. But
right.
Because John's a good sport and likes to have fun, and it's an excuse for him to drink while grilling earlier in the day.
Cool. Yes, that as well. and drink heavier than I normally do while recording, too. Let's not forget that.
I think we've turned this into a bit of something where even though we may not get a barrage of, tens and tens and tens of questions that we simply don't have time to get to, we get the right amount of questions, probably from about the same number of people every time, that makes it worth it, really.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, outside of maybe being a little hungover at work tomorrow, especially after having not been there the last 5 days, there's no negatives. I am basically halfway through a literal glass of gin. And as you mentioned, also peel back the curtain on my side. On podcast nights, when you're out in the sun and it's like grilling season, it's just like a beer. You crave a beer, right? So if I'm grilling and it's podcast night, I try not to have that beer because I'm like, okay, I'm going to have at least 2 drinks during the podcast. I don't want to get that sloppy, but because it's Ask John Anything, I had a beer I had a beer while grilling. I had another beer at supper. I'm drinking a lot of gin, and I have another beer sitting in front of me. So, I am primed and ready.
So we're just going to get right into this, as I think that's sort of the best thing to do with Ask John Anything.
Yes.
All right, so the first question, if Larry the Loser leaves his couch and heads east at a leisurely pace of 5 kilometers per hour, and Jimbo Bob on Sports finally gets out of his mother's basement and heads west to get Cheetos at 8 kilometers an hour, taking in consideration the amount of meatballs both men ate the night before and their lack of courage to call into a local sports show, causing the host's brain to melt down on the air, how will Jake Dolegala do against the Bombers this week?
Is that Greg?
Yep.
Oh God. Okay. See, that's the best part was in the preamble. I said, so when are we going to actually talk about Jake Dolegala starting the ride? You're like,
that's why I said, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Oh God. Oh, that is fantastic.
Wondering how we're going to fit that in today, because there is actually a little bit of Ratter news to talk to, and then Greg sent in his question earlier this afternoon. I'm like, there we go, perfect.
There, boom. Wow. Jake Dolegala will definitely do better than Mason Fine and Trevor Harris. Does that mean the Bombers, the Riders, are going to win? I mean, if there's one of the two they're going to win, it's going to be Labor Day. They have the power of the Fraser curse being in the stands. I have been to 7 Labor Days, and I have seen more buck-pierced elbow explosions than I have victories. So I would say that Dolegala is going to play better than Harris did in the season opener, because Harris was okay. Better than Mason Fine, because I just don't think Mason Fine's that good. And you know what? And I really hope that Jake Dolegala, powered by a meatball sub and Cheetos, can put up a game. But I feel like a little bit too much grease on the Cheetos, because he's not going with the Hawkins. Might let it slip, might lead to an interception. Bombers still win and break yet another Fraser curse, but Jake Dolegala has a great game. I see this one being a shootout. So I'm going to say 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 300-plus yards.
That's some chaos. I'm here for it. The only thing I feel about this right now is I'm glad that they just, granted it was on the sports cage, but he just came out and said it. There was no, there's no beating around the bush this week. There was no, we don't really know Mason Fine's status at this point, I guess, either. But it was expected that he could maybe play this week,
yes,
coming into the last game a couple weeks ago. So either A, he's not along as far as they thought he would be, or B, and frankly, the way he played in that game when we talked about this last week, Jake Dolegala earned another start, even if Mason Fine was 100% this week.
Yes.
So whatever the situation is, I'm glad they just came out and said it. There's no nonsense. There's no tomfoolery, because at this point we know, especially out of all the defensive coordinators in this league, Richie Hall, who's been doing it for 100 years, is not going to care.
No, certainly. He's going to have a game plan for either guy, and Richie Hall's defense is what Richie Hall's defense is. I'm just glad that A 3 Down Nation and CFL News both retweeted it, because my ass is blocked by that certain Regina sports program. So that's how we got to find out, was through third-party sources.
Well, it was posted on 3downnation.com, sorting them as the source as well. So.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
I did notice, though, omitting a name from the source, so that kind of made me happy.
Yeah, he said it on CKRM. That's what
right.
What happened.
That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah, and I mean, I could see it going one of two ways. I think, A, because they've had a bye week to sort of look at Winnipeg's defense as well this year to see if anything's, drastically different to what they've seen in the past, or maybe to plan for something maybe different than they've seen in the past. Maybe they have him ready. At the same time, Winnipeg now also actually has some game film on Jake Dolegala. So,
yes.
It's hard to say. I think he's either going to play really well, or it's going to be a spectacular fail. I don't know if he's going to play just fine. I think it's going to go one way or the other, basically.
No, I think you're right. But I see both quarterbacks having a great game just because of the Nick Marshall, Demario Houston matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're not matching up against each other, but like everybody's talking about all the interceptions that Houston has this year. And as a guy that's watched every down of Bomber football this year, I can tell you he's Winnipeg's Nick Marshall.
Yeah.
Like, he blows a lot of coverages, but also makes some absolute ridiculous plays to redeem himself. So I just see, like, when I say 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, I'm going to say that Houston has one of those interceptions and one of the long touchdowns where he just blows his coverage. And Nick Marshall's probably due for the same against Zach Collaros.
Yeah, well, the thing with Nick Marshall is I think everyone's more or less stopped throwing at him. That's why he's been so quiet.
Yeah, that's also it. It's like, you know what? He might blow an assignment, but he's also really good. And I feel like that's starting to happen with Houston to a lesser degree. But no, I think this is going to be, and now this is going to be a defensive slog with Sergio winning the game with 6 field goals kicked. I think there's a chance for some like high-flying offense. You know, you got 2 teams with good D, but they know each other so well. You've got Zach Collaros, who can be great but make mistakes. You get a young guy like Jake Dalagala, who's shown he can be great but also make mistakes because he's young. And I think it's going to be bananas land, and I for one am looking forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully it will be, and hopefully you're looking forward to the rest of this episode. Before we get into more questions and queries for one Jonathan Fraser, for the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, John, what's in the glass this week?
With tradition, with Ask John Anything, double fisting. One being Lucky Bastard's Gambit Gin. There's a new liquor store that replaced the SLGA store in Avalon here in the city. They basically went in and took the guts of the SLGA store and made it a million times better. So went and checked that out. They had Gambit Gin on for a pretty good price. I think it was $26 for a 2-4. So that was nice. And then also the value beer, probably Canada's best value beer, the Black Bridge Brewery Wheat Burst. I can still say that, proving that my glass of gin has not quite kicked in yet.
Oh, now, brown cow.
Brown cow.
For me, I've gone back to the light side, the official beer of the podcast, the Pile of Bones White IPA.
I drank a shitload of those during my football draft on Sunday. I will not talk about my team, but I will talk about the draft.
Something that might make, I guess, decent draft food. The question from Jock. First time, long time. What makes a great zesty meatball?
I love that Jock works in zesty because that's the term I like to use for myself when I get like when I get absolutely.
So are we talking like a spicy meatball, a tasty meatball, or like a drunk meatball? I guess that's the real question here.
And so that's why I feel like I can answer all of them. For a zesty meatball, so if you're talking about me, the meatball, getting zesty, the combination is BioSteel before I do anything. A shitload of beer, a shitload of clear alcohol, and then BioSteel once I'm done, right? Because then I can still function. I found that the clear alcohol, eating some food, that's the key for a zesty meatball. Now I'm John Fraser. Now, little, I don't know if I think I've discussed that I've kind of got some cooking skills, and one of them is definitely Italian food. So I have found if you want a good meatball, the key is over spicing your meatball to a degree. You know, you think you might be putting in a little bit too much flavor, a little bit too much heat, but that's because the meatball counteracts the sauce, right? You want it to stand out a little bit. So for me, go get some good Italian sausages, like some spicy Italian sausage. Combine that 1-to-1 with your ground beef, oregano, basil, salt, pepper, garlic, real garlic, not garlic powder. Fry those up, throw them in your sauce, let them marinate in your sauce as it simmers down. That is a good actual zesty meatball. I will send you the recipe for both the sauce and the meatball if you want, Jock. Just got to slide into my DMs, baby. I'll share my meatballs with you. But yeah, for me, basically put any fucking booze ahead of me and give me a good time with some good friends, and that's how I get zesty.
So we got a couple here, I guess, back to back that can go back to back that sort of fit together.
Okay.
First from Ferlin. If you could be any animal, why would it be a pig? And then we'll follow that up from Travis. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at pig noise impressions? And these two did not work together on this question, I don't believe. No, he did not. This was not a reply to Ferlin's original tweet. So
no. I think this was Ferlin. This was Travis Vaselli was the other one, and Travis Vaselli is in my is a good friend, great guy. Fun fact about Travis: he's one of those guys you always wonder why he's single. And then, like, he's a great guy. He's got a good job. You know, he's tall, dark, handsome, attractive. And then once me and Jay Price were golfing with him, and the cart girl comes up to him and she's like straight to him. Like, the two of us old married guys are in the other cart. This beautiful, beautiful cart girl comes up to him and goes, "Wow, I've never golfed before. I'd really like to give it a try sometime." And he just goes, "Okay." And moves on. So
in fairness, it is normally the single guys who don't pick up on cues, as someone who at times looks back on his life and is like, "Oh yeah, huh, missed that one.
Oh yeah,
oh well,
yeah, oh yeah." No, it was a swing and a miss, and we were like sitting there in the other cart drinking a beer, going, "Yes, he's gonna do it." So there is a offshoot Travis Vaselli story, and I actually can't make very good pig noises. I've been trying since that question came in, and I don't know if it's because got a little bit of allergies from the smoke or something like that, but like
I thought like the snottiness would like help though.
It has.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there we go. Oh, God, I don't. It's like I can roll my, as we both can, from Sergio. Like we've some people can't roll your R's, but I apparently can't make pig noises.
Yeah. I mean, for me, my ability to roll my R's comes from like a long time in school in French. So I mean.
Oh yeah, that would do it. Mine just comes from Sergio. But yeah. So it would definitely be a pig. You basically just eat all day and exist until they slice your neck open and make you into delicious bacon. But then even dead, you're still making people happy. So Ferlin is very correct. I would be a pig, even though I make terrible pig noises.
They might think something's wrong with you because of your terrible pig noises, and then you may not be put down for bacon purposes.
Oh yeah, maybe they'd make me like a breeding pig.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I've also never listened to me dive into a bowl of Cheetos. So, like, maybe the pig noises come out there. Like, I'm actually, when I was younger, I had one buddy that we would like to smoke a ganja together. I was banned from eating Doritos at his house when I was high. So I could imagine there was probably pig noises during those moments. So maybe I can try to get high and get some Cheetos and see what happens.
Maybe this is a Regina or Saskatoon men's spiel experiment this year. This season, I suppose, not year.
I would say 100%. I said, yeah, let's do it. I'll get real baked, and you record me making pig noises.
Okay, we'll see if we can remember this conversation, but that's certainly something that has to be on the agenda now.
I don't feel like it's one that our 7 listeners will let us forget.
Probably not. No, and I think the fact that you can't make pig noises now may be part of canon. So.
That's also fair. Just like my opinion doesn't matter. I'm a meatball. Never get the lettuce. Johnny Manziel is the best quarterback ever.
There's probably some others, but I don't remember them at this point.
That's fair.
So I guess I don't know if you were leading me into this question or not, but we might as well go into this one now from Cord. I think I know the answer, obviously, based on the way you've answered and talked throughout this episode. Quite frankly, which do you prefer, Hawkins or Cheetos?
Surprisingly, Cheetos.
The way you were putting down Cheetos, I thought you were going to say Hawkins.
Oh no, they're greasy and terrible. Like I hate it when my kids have Cheetos. Like they love them, and it's a greasy friggin' mess. You got cheese everywhere, but like the taste compared to Hawkins is like night and day. Especially if you can get the Cheetos that are like rip-off of Hawkins, the ones that aren't like the poofy ones, the ones that are like
ones,
yeah, those are the way. That's the way to go. And then you've got the variety too. You can get the flaming hot, which like. You know, I believe at one point Justin Bieber ate too many of those and like perforated his like inside. So like, I feel like that's on brand, for something like that. And I've had like American Flaming Hot Cheetos, and holy crap, maybe just thinking about them makes me cough. But no, Cheetos by a mile. Anybody that says it's Hawkins, I don't know if this makes me not Canadian, but you're wrong. Hawkins are trash. They're absolute dog water trash. They don't taste as good. The crunch is fine. You still get the powder, but like they mash into this like paste that ends up in my molars, and like I just no Hawkins. No, it is Cheetos all the way, 7 days a week. I don't even know how Hawkins is still a thing.
When you protect your corn and soy crops with Miravis Neem fungicide, you'll start seeing a lot more than just cleaner and greener fields. You'll get longer-lasting disease control, better plant health benefits, less plant stress, higher potential yield, and increased ROI potential. Ask your Syngenta retailer about Miravis Neo and start seeing more green in your fields, on your yield monitor, and in your wallet. Always read and follow label instructions.
It's got a cult following. I don't know, I'm not really into the genre in general. Not really much of like a cheesy puff guy. I don't know why.
Wait till Kay gets older, because you know what? One of the first snacks she's gonna love is gonna be cheesy puffs.
I don't care if other people eat them. I don't care if they're in the house. I'll probably still end up eating some. They're just not really a thing that I'm like, I'm going to actively seek out and buy this. The last time I actually actively seeked out and bought this was because we were crusting something in the Flaming Hots. So we did that, and that was delicious. And so we had some Flaming Hots left around, so I ate them. But
yeah, no, and I was the same way. Like, I would never seek them out, which is such a weird go-to for a tiny angry man to bring up Cheetos, because I don't feel like any grown-ass person seeks them out. It's like every one of us, though, with kids, because the kids love them. And it's like, you just got onto bed, it's 9:30, you cracked a beer, you're like, I'm feeling kind of snacky, and all that's there is the Cheetos. So you end up developing a taste for Cheetos, and then you start buying the Cheetos that you like. The Cheetos too, the crunchy jalapeno cheddar ones, just the right amount of burn that it doesn't rip apart your insides, and found in most vending machines someplace. So those are great. But yeah,
I've tried them. I've tried them both through work, and I think I am more of a Flaming Hot guy. There is like a weird craveability to them. I find like the flavor of it itself, the texture is still whatever. The way too much powder is still whatever. But the flavor itself, once you have a few, like the first one, you're like, oh, that's hot. But then it kind of, after you have a few, there's a little bit of, I don't know, like almost an acid like taste to it. I don't know. It works. It's almost like eating like a really good buffalo sauce, right? Like you crave more of that. And I can tell you, unlike our beer, the Canadian ones are weaker than the American Flamin' Hots. I forget where I picked up American Flaming Hots before, or my mother-in-law brought them back from Vegas. Like, oh well, yeah. When you're practically in Mexico, of course they're going to be spicier.
Whoa, that was like, I can understand how they destroyed Justin Bieber's insides, because they definitely destroyed mine. And I mean, I don't have an iron stomach, so I'm a terrible one to judge off of. But
no, I mean, lettuce sends you to the toilet, so.
And I mean, there's the poor toilet at the CN Curling Club that probably still to this day has a crack in it.
From Dave. In John's estimation, how is it that Winnipeg continues to find elite players that seem to defy father time and just get better with age?
Well, it's
do they? Dun dun dun.
That's exactly it. They look great for the I'm seeing some cracks this year. Like, I think this might be you're starting to see more pressure on Zach Collaros. You're starting to see the receivers missing passes that they might not. I mean, Brady Oliveira is a young guy, but the nice thing is there is that little bit of a push from some of the young guys like Brady Oliveira, who looks more and more like Andrew Harris every single passing day, it seems. But in terms of it, I just think it's guys taking better care of themselves than ever, right? And Winnipeg has done a good job of getting their guys to buy into moving to the city, like their long-term guys, like Willie Jefferson and like Adam Big Hell and like some of the offensive linemen, right? They live in Winnipeg. So you're not adding on to these guys the stress of, they're paying these guys enough that they can spend their off seasons training and doing yoga and doing whatever it is football players may do that I've never done. And, getting endorsements for Jim's Lumberyard and the liquor store in the corner of, McPhillips and Portage.
Well,
so
I mean, maybe a little bit of real estate and insurance broking on the side.
Oh, of course. Like that goes without saying. Like who is it? Jason Vega's like a sales manager at a Dodge dealership there. Yeah. Like just instantly retires. Boom, you're a sales manager. And I think he was doing a little of the car sales on the side, right? So I think the thing with Winnipeg is they're loyal to this group until it proves them otherwise.
Yep.
And I don't know if they're defying father time. I don't. I think what happens in the second half of this year will really define that. But I think Winnipeg's built a culture of guys want to play there, guys want to stay there, and guys want to live in the city. And to me, that's huge. That's one less stress that these guys got to worry about. You're not going home to work as an insurance broker, and maybe you're not hitting the gym as much, and maybe you're not working out as much. And I'm not criticizing anybody. I could not imagine balancing your life and your job in two different countries. But, you know, the Bombers have done a very good job, you know, whether it's legal or, you know, a little bit of the old, go voice these commercials, we'll pay you 20 grand kind of thing, right? That affluent teams do in this league. So I guess the proof's in the pudding. If they make a fourth straight Grey Cup, then yeah, you run it back again. But at some point, you're going to run it back one too many times with this group, and next thing you know, you're going to look a little bit more like Calgary than you do Winnipeg. But hell, I would, after years and years and years of suffering, when the end is near, I won't even care anymore, because holy crap, this era of Bomber football has been nothing like I've seen in my 37 years on this earth.
Yeah, well, and I think they do benefit to a degree on, other than Toronto and BC, since they've risen up, no one's really got along for the ride for the most part. Like this year, you know, the Riders are probably about the same as they were last year, a touch better, but still not really serious threats. Calgary's obviously regressed. Edmonton's nowhere near them. The other three teams in the East, Montreal's about the same probably as they were last year, maybe a touch better. So I think it's, you know, Winnipeg's maybe fallen back to the pack a little bit, but their gap was so large that it's still, there isn't really a whole lot to overcome with that loss and those cracks just quite yet. So it's like, okay, we're worse, but we're not anywhere near worse as we need to be worried yet. Well, which sometimes can catch you napping. So just,
well, and that's it. And I think too, like, I think this season's going to be interesting because Winnipeg is going to be clinching a playoff spot either at Labor Day or Banjo Bowl. Mm-hmm. Like
barring something ridiculous, yeah.
You're right. Like barring a rider sweep, which let's face it, tradition basically says that they're going to split these two games, right? Yeah. Tradition and quality of the teams too, I should say. But like, I can't think. I honest to God, Joel, and in all of our years of watching and covering the CFL, I cannot think of a team clinching a playoff spot on Labor Day.
No, because I mean, usually the gap between 1 and 4 in the West is not as large as it is right now.
Well, not just 1 and 4 in the West, but 1 and 4 in the East, right? Like, it's such a weird thing that you've got Winnipeg at 9-2, Toronto at 8-1, and then a pretty decent BC team though that they've manhandled when they've played them at 7-4, right? So and again, teams closing the gap. I think if Nathan Rourke doesn't go to the NFL, maybe BC's that team closing the gap. And this is no disrespect to Vernon Adams. I think he's definitely a quality starting quarterback in the league, but he's not what Nathan Rourke was. So this is just such a weird year that, you know, maybe Winnipeg clinching early and essentially having a 3-game lead in the division gives them an opportunity to maybe rest some guys so they are fresh for the playoffs. It's just it's a bizarro year, but I keep saying they run it back until these guys can't anymore. And that seems to be what these guys are doing is, you know, keep running it back. Don't pull a Bill Belichick. Don't cut these guys with maybe 1 year left of football in them. They're going to run these guys until Winnipeg's a 3-14 club, and away we go.
Mm-hmm. So we don't know if they have any luck on their side, but someone may. Yes. Evan, does John believe in the Cooper Perkins lucky streak? Now, you had to explain this one to me before the show started because I had no idea what this was.
Right. Cooper Perkins, great play-by-play and color commentator that works in lacrosse. And Cooper's kind of got a lucky streak where the teams he's calling or the teams he's supporting go on winning streaks, which... contrary to popular belief, until I came back to do Hilltops and Rush this year, I had called basically a championship for every single team I'd stepped in the booth. Like, there was not a year of my broadcasting career I did not call a championship for somebody, and this was the first year. So I figure that Cooper Perkins, Space Jam style, has taken my lucky streak powers. So basically, I work with Cody Jansen, my bro Montana, in the Rush booth. He somehow passes on to Cooper Perkins and the lucky streak. So yes, Evan, I do believe in it.
Good to know. Good to know. So there's like he's the opposite of you in this, not in like the play-by-play lucky sense, but the Perkins curse is like the opposite of a curse.
Right, exactly. So if like Cooper picks somebody to win, they're going to win. It's literally, or says somebody's going to play well, they will play well. Not like me. And again, I think the Fraser curse came out when I criticized Zach Collaros after throwing his second pick six, and then he just goes out and has the best second half ever.
Yeah, well, I still don't think you were entirely wrong with that take, but anyway.
I don't think so either, but Peter Dykowski scares me, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in Ontario. He can't get you. I think.
That's fair, but maybe he can. He's Canada's smartest man. He'll find a way.
I mean, you don't have to be Canada's smartest man to outsmart you, so, I mean.
You just have to be smarter than your average CFL play-by-play guy. Sorry, below average CFL play-by-play guy.
All right, we got a couple more. Sorry, go on.
All right, no, I was just going to make another joke. Say, far below average CFL play-by-play guy.
A couple more questions here before we call it a week.
Okay.
Number one, do you think we should see more offenses run plays from under center, other than short yardage?
Yes, absolutely you should. I don't understand, and I'm not an OC. I don't pretend to be one. I don't pretend to play one on TV. But even look at the NFL. The NFL that has largely gone to the air raid, doing things out of the pistol and the shotgun. You still know that they're going to drop back and go directly in the single back, directly under center for a lot of run plays, right? Why on earth, when you're trying to run past the line of scrimmage, would you start 5 or 7 yards back and then make your running back go? I think you could make your run game much more effective. Go under center. Even if the other team knows you're running, who gives a shit? Beat them. Like, you see it all the time in the NFL. How many times are you watching on the NFL Sunday? You'll see teams that play primarily out of the shotgun. It'll be first down. They'll line up under center. They'll hand it to their back. Their back will get 6-7 yards. Like, it's just our best is better than your best. So I would like to see it more, especially I know the question was outside of third and short, but especially on third and short. Like, what are you ever doing? If you need a yard
I think the point is on short yardage, we do see it quite often where they go under center. But only for the sneak, really.
Only for the sneak. You never see a handoff there. Anytime they'll line up in the gun, or they try to do something fancy, you line up in the gun, and then again, your guy's got to run 7 yards before getting the line of scrimmage. It's stupidity. I don't know. I'm just a decent Madden player, but I've seen guys much smarter than me, like Farhan Lalji, talk about this a lot, and I 100% agree with Farhan. Go under center more, help your running backs out, and just beat those guys on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said, and it's all right. But I think the issue is most of the quarterbacks these days aren't trained to do it, quite frankly.
Well, no.
If you watch college, they all come out of the gun pretty much 95% of the time they're in the gun. So it's just where the game has gone down there, and it's kind of evolved, and maybe they feel they don't have the time or the coaching in the CFL to really work on it with those kinds of, with the quarterbacks to get them under center more running that, because I think, from under center, you can do a little more with play action. You can roll out a little differently and better than you can out of the shotgun, but,
and you have the ultimate silent count when you're under center.
And you're also closer to the defensive line for a hard count.
Right. So you're close to the defensive line for the hard count, and if you ever want to go silent, have you played and this is not me sounding arrogant or smug, even though the question sounds like it. Have you ever had a chance to play quarterback in any kind of organized fashion?
God, no, I can't. I can barely throw a football.
Okay, so I have, and I played a lot of flag, especially when I was in Lloydminster, and we would often line up. I would line up under center when I wanted to catch somebody napping, because your hand is directly under your center's equipment.
Mm-hmm.
The most sensitive area on a man. So you just give the equipment a little gentle tap with your hand and the ball comes out.
Which one?
So, but that's what I mean. You have the ultimate, you don't even have to bark out plays at the line of scrimmage. You walk up, you call your play in your huddle, you tap your buddy right in the nuts, and he gives you a ball in your hands. You put his ball's in your hands, he puts the ball in your hand. Next thing you know, you got a guy on a vertical, and boom, touchdown for the Leckie and Associates Bombers.
Phrasing. Last one.
Yes. Okay.
It's the follow-up that is completely unrelated to the previous question from Jock.
Right.
Since apparently we always seem to have some kind of pop culture sort of thing that we're on, because I've actually watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, apparently that's become a bit of a thing now. Which Always Sunny characters are you, Joel, and each of your 5 listeners? I think Jock's selling us a little short on that one, though.
All right. I actually wrote this one down. This is like when Jock asked me to make the coach's condiments. Clearly, I'm Charlie Day. Like, I'm the most off the wall. I've got the takes. I've got, like, the paranoia. Whenever I've been talking about McLeod Bethel Thompson, I've been feeling like the Pepe Silva episode. Look, and he's just done this, and he's going to go ahead and match this. And I feel like that's the energy that I bring, so I do feel like I'm Charlie Day. That makes you the waitress. I love you. In a very different way than Charlie loves the waitress. But I do love you. You're always there to quickly shut down my dumbest of plans. Plus, you did not seem to enjoy my singing of Dayman. Moving on to our 7 listeners. I am leaving my grandmother out of this one. I'm leaving Grammy out of this one. Okay?
Fair enough. She probably wouldn't understand anyway, so it's okay.
No, and there's no fitting my Grammy to an Always Sunny character. I tried. Greg.
At least you tried.
I thought about it. I'm like... And the closest I got was Charlie's mom, but the thought of Frank Reynolds banging her all the time, just, yeah, there we go. Greg is for sure Dennis. As we've learned through this whole disagreement with the sports cage, Greg can be all happy enjoying the outside, but there's a darkness there when he's been wronged, such as when he exposed a burner account. Greg can be, oh boy, a little terrifying. Jock, you are Mac. I feel like if given an opportunity to come on the pod, you'd either perform a stunning interpretive dance or just do kung fu. You seem down for anything with the crew. Dave, he's Frank Reynolds. Dave's the money of the operation. And although unlike Frank, he's not addicted to, in his words, and I quote, cocaine and whores, I don't know the lengths he'd do to get in on an Amigos burrito. Like, I feel like there'd be an elaborate scheme as Frank's always trying to get whores, his words. I feel like Dave would be as game for any elaborate plans to get an Amigos burrito. Okay. Doug, you're a bit of Frank as well, based on both build and love of our wrestling references, but you're also D to a degree, with lots of, career success. But unlike D, you don't let us, get in the way. You just went out and won a bunch of Canada West championships. And now, because I know they are among the 7, I apologize for anybody, or maybe I shouldn't apologize, because I feel like once getting past the main crew, you don't want to be compared to anybody. But there are a couple people that I know listen and hear my words from time to time. CFL Chef, sports junkie. And your unnamed blocked his ass CFL play-by-play man. You're the McPoyles. You're nearly identical. You have a weirdly close relationship. Nobody really wants to be around you. Minus the people who think just like you and your weird little cult. Plus, you both probably smell like warm milk. And I know certainly at least one of you doesn't trust science.
Save big money on your next painting project. Menards carries Purdy paintbrushes, roller covers, trays, and paint kits to help you get the job done right. Purdy brushes are handcrafted in the USA and are the #1 brand preferred by professionals. Save big on Purdy painting tools at Menards, America's #1 home improvement retailer for customer satisfaction according to J.D. Power. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.